Hey everybody, it's David here from Bunkie Life, and I'm super excited to have Christine Hardy. She's like my sister from another mister. I mean, she was the first person I ever talked to at Ronald McDonald House, Canada, when we realized, oh, this is like the charity that like our heart wants to support, essentially. And so we talked. When was this? Like 2-3 years ago now? Back in early 2020, maybe. Yeah. Okay. And super supportive of at that point, we were a very tiny company, and Christine got super excited. And so, we've kind of chatted and throughout the year. So I thought it'd be great to have Christine on. She's from Ronald McDonald House, specifically in Ottawa, but has, a really good view of the national picture of what's happening with Ronald McDonald House charities. And obviously, but your boots on the ground as well, which I kind of like. So tonight it's just about giving, and what I want to know is like, what's happened since the pandemic has hopefully been kind of denouement here. And where's the need and what can we do as a Bunkie Life community to kind of help? So first of all, thanks for coming and chatting.
It's always such a pleasure to speak with you guys. And such a pleasure to speak with you today. So thank you for inviting me. When we spoke last year, it was very different. We were pretty shut down. I mean, we've been open throughout, but we were pretty closed to, when I say shut down, we were really just closed to visitors, volunteers. It was just our core staff. And we were being really careful about allowing in too many families. As you know, Ronald McDonald Houses everywhere have a wonderful mission that's pretty much built on communal living, which is not particularly COVID friendly. So initially during the pandemic, what we had to do was really reduce our numbers in the house just to keep the families who are with us safe. And we've since been able to open up quite a bit. So thankfully, with the vaccine, we can get right back up to we're at full capacity. Okay,
great. And so, so I remember last time we talked to Sarah Putnam, who's also from Ottawa as well. And she was saying like, Ronald McDonald House wasn't an immediate need. Like we spoke, I guess, probably around the same time last year. And, when the pandemic first hit, there was a little bit, it felt like there was more immediate needs, right? And then things like Ronald McDonald House were kind of like, oh, it was, I don't want to say an afterthought, but it just wasn't on the top of everyone's mind. So she's saying like the numbers were kind of way down in terms of donations and such. And also a lot of the fundraising you guys were doing was like, golf tournaments. I don't know if there was like backyard parties, but there were things that were like, off the menu for a while. So, how has that developed in this past year? And, if you could kind of elaborate and explain what's happened, just from a fundraising perspective.
Sure. I think Ronald McDonald Houses across the country were hit with about a 60% reduction in fundraising revenue. Yeah. For all the reasons you just mentioned, we rely very heavily on events. In our case, it's an annual ski fest. That's a big event for us, as well as a golf tournament. And then the third party events that take place in honor of us. So with all of that stopping, we had a really hard time. And as you say, we're not the hospitals, we're not on the front lines, but we remained open throughout the pandemic, because for any family traveling in order to get their child care from far away, you need a Ronald McDonald House to stay in, ideally. Yep. So 65% of Canadians live outside of a city that has a children's hospital, which means for most Canadian families, if your child becomes sick or injured, you need a place to stay. So we are an essential service, and we've remained open throughout the pandemic. Fundraising was very hard. We have, our communities are very generous, and even though our events went virtual, we were still able to raise funds, no doubt. But we certainly have a lot of catching up to do. Okay,
awesome. Well, hopefully I can be a part of that experience then, and getting, because I know that's like you said, the hospitals, and there's certain things that just, they seemed like, oh, like that's the immediate need. And that is true, of course, at the time. But now we think, okay, things are kind of getting a little bit more back to normal. But the need has been there the entire time. So like you say, we're probably working from kind of behind the eight ball a little bit in terms of backfilling that need, but also, moving forwards, like there's going to be, I suspect, a lot of kids that maybe they weren't checked up on this past couple of years, that we're probably going to have almost like a focusing or a glut of like extra kids that are going to be, now getting the care and attention they now might have needed during the pandemic, but really need right now. So what have you noticed in terms of like just demand for, beds and rooms at Ronald McDonald Houses? Has it been increasing? Has it been staying the same? Like, what's that been like?
Yeah, it's a great question. As you know, throughout the early days of the pandemic, a lot of surgeries and a lot of appointments were postponed.
Yeah.
I've heard anywhere from up to 3 years in terms of a backlog that we now need to address. We have a little boy staying with us right now who's come back for his 4th visit, having had his surgery canceled the first 3 times he traveled to Ottawa. And that's just the reality of where the pandemic has taken us, right? It was the right thing to do. But now there are a lot of little kids who need the care that they weren't able to get, and so we're always full. We operate with a long wait list. We're in the process of planning to grow in order to meet the increasing need. But yeah, we're full. And throughout the early days of the pandemic, the people who were coming into CHEO, in our case, were the sickest of the sickest. So very vulnerable. And it's for that reason that we had to really pause on bringing in too many new families. We had to pause on allowing siblings to come in because, as we all know, the vaccine has only been available recently for little ones. And with kids traveling in and out of daycares and schools, we had to be really careful for the folks who were staying with us.
Yeah.
But we've been.
I know that very well because I've got 3 little germ sponges in my house right now, and everyone's so yeah, I totally get that. I mean, it's wonderful having them, but they are little germ sponges. But yeah, so is what's the policy been like that over the last little bit? Has that been changing, or has that been Yeah,
we are asking families to be vaccinated to come and stay with us, just for the protection of everyone. And again, I say it again, we're built for communal living. So there's not a lot of ability to stay. We all use the same front door. We all use the same kitchen, laundry services. Our staff is all fully vaccinated, volunteers as well. Families are very grateful for that, quite frankly, because they're coming into this new situation where they're living with people they don't know. So it's a huge comfort to know that everyone has taken the precautions and is protected. Mm-hmm. And then otherwise, we've started to open up a little bit where we have essential volunteers coming in. One of the things that we're known for and that we love being able to provide to families is a warm meal at the end of a long day at the hospital. So where we used to have larger groups coming in to cook meals, we have small groups of people coming in now to do a bit of cooking. Siblings are still not coming in yet, but we're really hoping to be able to open that up soon, because it's just better for everyone to stay together in these situations. We all know that. It's better for the family to be together. And that's what we're all about at Ronald McDonald House, keeping families together.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So I guess if you were to kind of articulate the need, let's say I've got resources, I've got time, I've got money, I've got different resources I could bring to bear and help. What is Ottawa specifically most needing? And then in the greater picture, what are the Ronald McDonald House Charities of Canada most needing, you think?
Sure. Well, it costs about $100 a night to operate one of our rooms, and we charge families $10. And that's only if they can afford it. If not, we waive the cost. So really what we need, like most charities, is donations.
Cold hard cash, people. Okay. Yep.
And we'll use that to keep welcoming as many families as we can, keep the rooms clean and disinfected. And we have one mission. We give families a warm, safe, affordable, loving place to stay. And so donations to rmhottawa.com would be incredible. It would just give us such a boost at a time when we're definitely behind.
Okay, that's great to know. And so we've set up a page as well. You can go to bunkielife.com/give and it'll redirect you right to the Ronald McDonald website. And that's if you want to give kind of across Canada or Ontario specific, or like Christine said, you can give specifically to individual chapters. So you can find a chapter in your neighborhood, or maybe one that supported a family member. What we've noticed since we kind of started talking publicly about Ronald McDonald House is people will say, the comment is generally like, they were there for me 20 years ago when I was a kid, or I was sick, or my kid was sick, or my grandkid was sick. And like, I haven't met a whole lot of people where Ronald McDonald House hasn't touched them in some way, a friend or a family member, or in some cases, the individual themselves has been, directly benefited. So, I mean, it's a charity that I guess, it's not a frontline hospital, like you said, but it's such a supplement to health and to families. So, if you have, I'm going to speak to the audience right now. If you have a little bit of extra cash floating around the bank account, it's a great place to put it. You get a charitable receipt, but ultimately you get the feeling of knowing, hey, I've helped families stay close to each other during what is for them a very tumultuous, very uncertain a scary time, and a time when you just want to be with your mom or with your dad, right? So give generously, as you guys always do. And I think that would be a really great thing to do. Do it before Christmas. Get that in before Christmas is my advice. Bunkie Life is writing a big check pretty soon as our annual commitment. So, let's do it all together. So bunkielife.com/give or rmhcottawa.com or .ca?
rmhottawa.com.
rmhottawa.com. So, Christine, is there anything else you want to leave us with? Anything that I was just too ignorant to ask about in terms of what's going on?
No, you covered it well. Thank you so much. We are so grateful to you and to all of your customers at Bunkie Life for their generosity. It's such a wonderful partnership on behalf of all the houses across the country. It's really a privilege to be associated with you guys. So thank you all so much.
Well, likewise. Thanks so much for your time, Christine. It was great to chat.